Hello everyone and welcome to The No Show. I'll be your host Nathan Orenstein, and today I'm going to be talking about the best movies of 2025. So far. We are exactly halfway through the year, so what better time to do a little retrospective on the first half of 2025. As usual, I've tried to keep up to date with everything notable that's come out this year, and I've seen a total of 39 new releases. In this video, I'll talk about those films I'd give an 8 out of 10 or higher. In other words, movies I think are definitely worth your time. I'll give you the title, director, synopsis straight from Letterboxd, and my brief thoughts about each of these films, presented in alphabetical order. Let's get into it. Black Bag, directed by Steven Soderbergh. When intelligence agent Catherine Woodhouse is suspected of betraying the nation, her husband, also a legendary agent, faces the ultimate test of whether to be loyal to his marriage or his country. Black Bag is essentially a classic whodunit story told within the context of British intelligence. It's incredibly fun with all its twists and turns, but the cold backdrop of a government agency also adds a level of seriousness that balances it all out super well. And Soderbergh is back in prime form here with super smooth and sexy direction, accentuated by two fantastic lead performances from Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender. This is a quick and efficient hour and a half and a must-watch for any mystery/thriller fan. Black Bag is currently available to stream on Peacock. Bring Her Back, directed by Danny and Michael Philippou. Following the death of their father, a brother and sister are introduced to their new sibling by their foster mother, only to learn that she has a terrifying secret. So I'll let the cat out of the bag, because it really isn't even a spoiler. The foster mother, played masterfully by Sally Hawkins, wants to use the grieving kids in a ritual that she hopes will bring her dead daughter back. As you can tell, there's a lot of grieving going on, and the prey are children, one of which is pretty much blind. Combine that with the most gruesome horror visuals of the year, and you get a movie that is often difficult to stomach and leaves you feeling empty by the end of it. And it's fantastic. It's one of the most effective pure horror films in recent memory, and one that I won't be forgetting anytime soon. Bring Her Back is still showing in some theaters. Companion, directed by Drew Hancock. During a weekend getaway at a secluded lakeside estate, a group of friends find themselves entangled in a web of secrets, deception, and advanced technology. As tensions rise and loyalties are tested, they uncover unsettling truths about themselves and the world around them. I'm going to leave that very broad synopsis alone because I think that this is a film best experienced without knowing anything at all about the story. What I can say is that this is a wild ride of a film, really making the most of its premise and pushing the story into some pretty insane directions. At its core, we're still working with familiar themes, but it's told in such a fresh and exciting way that it really felt like a roller coaster from start to finish. And Sophie Thatcher just continues to be one of the most exciting up-and-coming stars of the horror thriller world. Companion is available to stream on HBO Max. F1, directed by Joseph Kosinski. Racing legend Sonny Hayes is coaxed out of retirement to lead a struggling Formula One team and mentor a young hotshot driver while chasing one more chance at glory. This is a movie about race cars starring Brad Pitt and directed by the guy who made Top Gun Maverick. If that's not enough to sell you on it, I don't know what will. Kosinski has fully cracked the code on how to film vehicles going extremely fast in extremely tense scenarios, and the Hollywoodization of Formula One racing really made things even more exciting. Maybe that won't work for F1 purists, but I think it'll more than play for anyone remotely interested in sports or action films. The story is pretty by the books, admittedly, but Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Javier Bardem, and Kerry Condon are all bringing a charm to this film that makes any interaction between any of them worth watching. But you're here for the racing, and the racing more than delivers. F1 is currently playing in theaters. Friendship, directed by Andrew DeYoung. A suburban dad falls hard for his charismatic new neighbor. Wow, that synopsis really gets straight to the point. What it doesn't mention is that the suburban dad is an absolute nut job, and that he pretty much goes insane when the friendship doesn't work out. This is the first movie with Tim Robinson in a leading role, and I think it's pretty much everything you'd want out of a Tim Robinson-led movie. If you're unfamiliar, he's known for a very specific brand of cringe comedy that can often push into the absurd and surreal. Try out an episode of I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. If you like it, you'll probably like this movie. If you don't, you probably shouldn't watch this. It's as simple as that. For myself, I think this is the funniest movie of the year so far and couldn't recommend it enough to any fans of his. Friendship is available to rent online. How to Train Your Dragon, directed by Dean DeBlois. On the rugged Isle of Berk, where Vikings and dragons have been bitter enemies for generations, Hiccup stands apart, defying centuries of tradition when he befriends Toothless, a feared night fury dragon. Their unlikely bond reveals the true nature of dragons, challenging the very foundations of Viking society. This is a live-action remake of the animated film from 2010, changing pretty much none of the story and even keeping the same director. I'll admit, it feels almost completely pointless to remake a film in this way, especially when the original isn't even that old and is still beloved. That being said, you really couldn't ask for a better live-action remake, and this might be the best one of all time. It looks incredible, it sounds incredible, and the unchanged story is just as effective this time around. I still don't really approve of live-action remakes as a whole, but if you're gonna make one, it should be made with the same passion and reverence for the original that this one has. How to Train Your Dragon is currently playing in theaters. The Life of Chuck, directed by Mike Flanagan. In this extraordinary story of an ordinary man, Charles Chuck Krantz experiences the wonder of love, the heartbreak of loss, and the multitudes contained in all of us. A pretty corny synopsis for a movie that is, I'll admit, difficult to summarize without sounding just as corny. And I know that some people think that it was, but I really didn't find the film itself to be corny at all. This is a beautifully written and beautifully directed film about life as a whole and the ups and downs that come with it. I legitimately felt like I was on the verge of tears for at least half of this film, both out of joy and out of sadness, and I really can't remember the last time I was that moved by a film throughout its runtime. A must-watch for pretty much anyone, honestly. The Life of Chuck is still showing in some theaters. Paddington in Peru, directed by Dougal Wilson. Paddington travels to Peru to visit his beloved Aunt Lucy, who now resides at the home for retired bears. With the Brown family in tow, a thrilling adventure ensues when a mystery plunges them into an unexpected journey through the Amazon rainforest and up to the mountain peaks of Peru. Real ball-knowers know that the Paddington films are unironically great, and Paddington in Peru is no different, even though it seems to have flown completely under the radar. It's full of adventure, laughs, and heart, and introduces us to two new incredible villains in Olivia Colman and Antonio Banderas. It's one of those rare movies that is definitely made for kids, but is going to be just as appealing to the parents that are forced to watch it too. I'm admittedly neither a kid or a parent, but I do know that I loved this. Paddington in Peru is available to stream on Netflix. Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. Sinners has been making waves and breaking records all year as one of the most successful original films of the past couple of decades, and for good reason. Coogler's blend of rich musical history, the Jim Crow South, and vampires is certainly an unlikely combination, but it works better than you could possibly imagine. The word I keep coming back to describe it is fiery, as the whole movie is brimming with an incredible heat from start to finish. The performances, the music, the passion, the energy, and just about everything else add to this fire and make for a film that had my jaw on the floor for most of it. Sinners will be streaming on HBO Max beginning on July 4th. Thunderbolts, directed by Jake Schreier. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, 7 disillusioned cast-offs must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their past. I think I said this in my review, but this is the first Marvel movie that feels like it was actually made for adults. It tackles heavy themes like grief, loneliness, depression, and guilt, and even manages to work those themes into some of the bigger, more comic booky narrative beats. It's also still a fun time though, with better comedy than most MCU films, and some great action scenes that aren't just generic CGI slop. And the team at the core of this is consistently entertaining, even if none of the characters really stand out too much on their own. This is my favorite Marvel movie since Endgame 6 years ago, and hopefully this marks a turning point for the disastrous MCU. Thunderbolts is available to rent online. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, directed by Merlin Crossingham and Nick Park. Gromit's concern that Wallace is becoming too dependent on his inventions proves justified when Wallace invents a smart gnome that seems to develop a mind of its own. When it emerges that a vengeful figure from the past might be masterminding things, it falls to Gromit to battle sinister forces and save his master, or Wallace may never be able to invent again. It's the first Wallace and Gromit movie in 2 decades, and it's like they never left. If you're unfamiliar, these are claymation, very British comedies about an eccentric inventor and his super smart, anthropomorphic dog. Vengeance Most Foul isn't doing anything groundbreaking, but Wallace and Gromit is so consistently great that it really doesn't matter. Plus, legendary villain Feathers McGraw's back, so of course this is great. Vengeance Most Foul is available to stream on Netflix. Warfare, directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. A platoon of American Navy SEALs on a surveillance mission gone wrong in insurgent territory. A boots-on-the-ground story of modern warfare and brotherhood, told in real time and based on the memory of the people who lived it. That synopsis pretty much covers everything you need to know. This is a no-frills recreation of an actual event that happened in Iraq in 2006, told in real time. We don't get backstory or character development or anything else you typically get in a narrative film. You just get this realistic recreation of a mission gone wrong. It's loud, it's overwhelming, it's relentless, and it all feels real. A very harrowing experience of a film. Not a fun watch, but a great one nonetheless. Warfare is available to rent online. Those are my picks for the top 12 movies of 2025 so far. If you enjoyed the list, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. And I'd love to see your own list down in the comments below. I've been Nathan Orenstein with The No Show. Thanks for watching.